Hello everyone, thanks very much for joining us for a discussion of some of the key themes and trends in UK marketing in 2017. You'll immediately notice that the title includes the word digital in parenthesis, and that speaks to one of the key arguments for the presentation and discussion, which is about the urgent need to reintegrate marketing, which is framed very nicely in the expression that we are in the business of marketing in a digital age rather than digital marketing per se, and therefore the importance of an integrated and single view across the marketing landscape. We have prepared a series of short chapters that will cover this first chapter, the introduction, and a recap on some of the key developments of 2016. The second chapter will look at 10 key marketing themes for 2017. Before the third chapter then takes a step back from the marketing and digital elements of the discussion to review where we are today from a consumer context, whether that's employment, income growth, anxiety, certainty, etc. Going forward, we're all obviously very conscious of the potential impact of Brexit in 2017, but it's equally important to look at the recovery context since the global financial crisis of 2008. We'll then return to our bread and butter in terms of looking at key marketing technologies, so extending to include artificial intelligence, the Internet of Things, the usual suspects, you might say, before the sixth chapter attempts to pull it all together and addresses that initial theme of an integrated cross-channel future before we return to the consumer mindset and really focus on the expectations that the consumer comes to the marketing table with today and indeed tomorrow. So, what can we learn from 2016? Arguably, along with the reframing of our discipline, so marketing in a digital age rather than digital marketing, perhaps the other key focus should be that if you don't have a mobile strategy, then arguably you don't have a future strategy at all, which is a bold claim, but one that's been made by a number of key and senior chief executives from across the industry. In 2016, we saw mobile eclipse fixed internet as the majority source of internet traffic, and that single reference point should alert you to the importance of mobile going forward in a world where we now have 3.6 billion people connected to the internet. So, my first and key point for 2017 is that this is our opportunity to say that enough is enough. Good enough is no longer good enough. What does that speak to? Well, we all recognise that good enough is often a barrier to investment, to innovation, to business change, and to radical rethinking of what we're about. From our point of view at Profusion, we've got a huge emphasis on data architectures and ensuring they are fit for current purpose and indeed to, as far as possible, future-proofed. So thinking about the many and varied channels and data sources that we're increasingly looking to manage and to integrate to create that single marketing view, that we really need to address the infrastructure situation, make sure it's fit for purpose, and really that is in a sense a Trojan horse, because in doing so, by integrating at the data level, if you like, I think Axiom are calling it an open garden, but if we achieve that integration at the data level, then the necessary consequence of that is a dilution, if not a breaking down, of the individual specialisms and silos that continue to dominate many marketing teams and departments today. Second key point, probably the three big stories of 2016 from a marketing perspective. I've already mentioned the rise of mobile. So obviously the smartphone dominance, and indeed the UK is number 3 in the world in terms of national markets for smartphone penetration amongst internet users. It's also number 1 in the world for tablet penetration amongst internet users. What we perhaps lacked a little in 2016 was the development of the wearable sector. Many people will still be recollecting Google Glass scenario, but we expect to see significant developments in wearable and mobile technology in 2017, perhaps led by Snap and the Snap Spectacles, which we will return to as we go forward with the chapters. The second key shift, let's call it a paradigm shift, shall we, is towards messaging applications and away from the predecessors, for example, SMS, email, and even social networks as we previously understood them, if you like. No coincidence, therefore, that Facebook Messenger has been leading the charge in the development of messaging applications. At the end of 2015, it was estimated there were 1.4 billion users of messaging apps across the globe, and by 2018, perfectly reasonable to imagine over 2 billion individual users of messaging applications. I think there's a really exciting future and a really challenging future for all of us in terms of the development of integrated services within messaging applications. Again, something we'll return to in later chapters of the discussion. The third key element that we can take away from 2016, in a similar vein to mobile, the rise of video. And I guess the key feature of 2016 has been the rise of live streaming video opportunities. Indeed, today we have over 90% of the internet audience who watch a video at least once per week. Even a couple of years ago, you might immediately have defaulted to YouTube as the primary source of that sort of video content. Today, it's diffused across platforms, including messaging applications and beyond. And it's worth noting that back in the summer of 2015, Nicola Mendelsohn, Vice President at Facebook, said that by the next 5 years, Facebook would definitely be mobile, so I think we can give her a big tick for that, and almost certainly video, and we're already a very long way down that road. So mobile and video absolutely fundamental to the future of Facebook. And in the intervening period, of course, Facebook has, as I mentioned, launched the Messenger service to plug that gap, if you like, in terms of their portfolio. I was thinking now about the individual sort of success stories. So beyond that framework of mobile, video and messaging, what are the individual highlights and success stories of 2016? If we look at the slide and take the top left, a sort of icon, which hopefully at least some of you will recognise as a chatbot. So, if 2016 was the year of anything, it wasn't mobile this time. It was the year of chatbots and virtual assistants, indeed the year when artificial intelligence came to life for many people. Now, since the Facebook Messenger platform was opened up in April of 2016, it's estimated about 34,000 chatbots have been launched through that platform alone. And we know ourselves, working with our clients at Profusion, that chatbots are being introduced across different business sectors, whether financial services, retail, etc., and really impacting on the customer experience and the efficiency and timeliness of interactions with brands and businesses. Again, continuing on the left-hand side, you can see the icon, which hopefully you'll recognise as the Instagram icon. A massive year for them in 2016. I think we'd probably agree that they have now eclipsed Pinterest and established themselves as a key sort of social network. One standout statistic around that, 98% of all fashion brands across the globe have a presence on Instagram today. So clearly one to watch and one to consider how best to use in your marketing sort of communications. Continuing from left to right on the top row, you'll see the Amazon Echo. No mystery about this one, as they've kindly labelled it for you. And this has really come to prominence in 2016, driven by the Alexa sort of platform and really familiarising us with this idea of the voice sort of interface and voice as a sort of operating system. So Siri really driving forward alongside other voice-activated platforms such as Microsoft's Cortana, Apple Siri, Google Assistant, etc. Continuing from left to right on the top row, you'll see Snapchat and the Snap Corporation, and you'll be aware that the anticipated stock market flotation or IPO is valuing Snap Corporation at somewhere between 25 billion and 35 billion US dollars. Although there are already question marks in the context of the rise of Instagram as to whether Snap is perfectly placed to realise all of its potential. Why do people believe it has such strong potential? Because of its incredible grip on the youngest adult age group, so the sort of 16 to 34 sort of dynamic, perfectly positioned for that audience. Its rapid evolution today, Snapchat stories, and the spectacles that are going to go large in 2017 with their clear sort of offer, fun, engaging, exciting sort of platform. Dropping down now to the second row, but again going left to right. In the bottom left, you will see DeepMind. So this was an acquisition by Google of the DeepMind artificial intelligence specialists. And it may surprise you that it was only in April 2016 that DeepMind beat a human player of Go. And the significance of that compared to, it was obviously a number of years ago that we saw Deep Blue winning chess matches, for example. But Go was considered the hardest, most difficult and virtually impossible challenge for an artificial intelligence capability to address. And within a couple of years, that's already moved forward to win a game of Go, and therefore creating ever greater confidence in the potential and opportunity that artificial intelligence affords all of us. Alongside DeepMind, you'll see a virtual reality headset And again, we've seen virtual reality move into the consumer mainstream in 2016, but also don't lose sight of augmented reality, which potentially could be at least as transformational as virtual reality. Alongside that, I've just mentioned Hearts and Science, which is a new media network from the Omnicom Group. And the beauty of that network is that their promise of a post-media future and a data-driven approach to communicating in that post-media paradigm. And finally, 2016 wasn't a bad year for Microsoft. So obviously they've been continuing to develop their cloud computing sort of offer, Microsoft Azure. You may recall they bought LinkedIn in the summer of last year for a huge price. It'll be fascinating to see how that integration moves forward and how they use the LinkedIn platform to grow the business. They also launched the HoloLens, which they're positioning as a mixed reality sort of platform. And I'm sitting here working with my Microsoft tablet computer, which has been a phenomenal success as well. I'm sure you'll have your own personal favourites, but just some thought starters there as to key successes of 2016. The one you probably thought of straight away that wasn't included in that list was Pokemon Go, and who could forget the excitement of summer 2016? Indeed, over 500 million downloads of this single application, with estimates suggesting that it reached about 10% of the global internet user base. And why wouldn't it? We've rarely seen an application that tied together so many of the key trends in contemporary sort of culture and technology, incorporating augmented reality, competitive sort of dynamics, certainly generating and creating a social currency. And I think what excited a lot of people was it was a real demonstration of the power of mobile to get people moving, get people out of their homes, and dare I say it, interacting with other people, strangers even, in different locations. We'll all have our own anecdotes and stories of strange groups of people in different parks, etc. So a real transformative technology, and really look forward to new developments in this space leveraging the same sort of dynamics. One commercial point to make is that this is great from a consumer point of view, but did you know that McDonald's, quite savvy in Japan, obviously very much a mobile sort of marketplace, designated all of their restaurants in Japan as Poke Gyms and saw a 27% sales uplift as a result of that little innovation and that little bit of forward thinking. So I think for all brands looking at opportunities to engage customers and prospects, going forward, this type of platform is ideal. Thanks very much. That's our introductory chapter. Hopefully it whets your appetite and sets the scene for chapter 2, which is the 10 key marketing themes that we've identified for the year.